Welcome to this presentation. My name is Nathalia Silva. I am a PhD student in CIMNE Madrid. Today I will share with you the development of two GID-based plugins for Iber, one for massive model building and another for automatic report generation. Flumen Institute and CIMNE Madrid worked together in this project. Marco Sanz and Ernest Blade from Flumen Institute and Fernando Salazar and I from CIMNE Madrid are part of the developers team. This presentation consists of 4 parts. First, I will explain a little about the project that inspired the development of the plugins. Next, I will talk about a little about Iber, and finally, I will describe the main characteristics of both plugins. The project ACROPOLIS consists on the classification of upstream reservoirs against potential risk combining GIS and machine learning. There are around 70,000 upstream reservoirs in Spain, and most of them are used as irrigation ponds. Since 2008, the owners of these structures are obligated to release an assessment of classification against potential risk following the specification of the technical guide. The technical guide proposes a complete method for assessing the potential risks. This method requires a complete 2D hydraulic model. Therefore, the necessary work to make a complete and accurate classification assessment requires high engineering knowledge, efforts, and resources often unavailable for many others. Therefore, the project proposed the creation of a simplified system to classify upstream reservoirs as a function of potential risk using machine learning. The project entails a series of tasks, as we can see in the figure. These tasks involve data generation for machine learning model training and report generation of the complete methodology. Hence, the developed plugins aim at solving 2 tasks of the project using GID and Iber. Iber is a 2-dimensional hydraulic model for the simulation of reservoirs flow. Iber solves hydrodynamics, turbulence, sediment transport, water quality process and habitat. The simulation code has been integrated in a pre-process and post-process interface based on GID. For dam or pond bridge modeling, the hydrodynamic module calculates the flood wave propagation and the sediment transfer module generates the bridge. The first plugin for massive model building consists of a pre-process module and a building module. The pre-process consists of the generation of a series of files containing the geometry, the bridge parameters, and the location of the points to extract results, called gauges. These files are created using a Python script. Then, the building model consists on a loop for n cases, where each case is modeled with 6 different Manning's coefficients. The model reads the files created in the pre-processing, creates the surfaces, assigns the initial and boundary condition, creates the mesh, assigns the line use, defines the bridge, extracts the results, and saves the model. The geometry generated in the pre-processing consists of a simplification of an upstream reservoir and its surrounding area. As we can see in the figures, the geometry has 3 zones. In the zone A is located the upstream reservoir. Zone B is a transition zone that has a longitudinal slope. And zone C is assumed that there is a main channel or path that the flow follows. The design of the geometries is based on a combination of 10 parameters, including reservoir dimension and longitudinal and transversal slopes. The script generates a file in XYX point format with the coordinates of a series of points. In the image, we can see one of the imported files on GID. Each point is spaced approximately 5 meters apart in the zone A and 20 meters apart in zones B and C. The bridge file contains the parameters to define it, such as the type of the bridge, the start and end coordinates, the top and bottom elevation, and the volume storage on the reservoir. These characteristics are calculated according to the geometry of each case. The Type 1 bridge in Iber calculates the bridge parameters based on the equations of the Spanish regulations. Finally, a gauges file is generated. This file contains the number of gauges or points from which we want to extract results, multiplied by 2, and the x and y coordinates of each one. In this case, we want to extract results on 200 gauges. In the image, we can see an example of the location of the gauges in the geometry. We have to create 3 folders, one with the bridge files, one with the gauges, and one with the geometries. In the video, we see the generated files for n cases. It is important to have the 3 files for each case. With the pre-processing completed, the problem type is loaded into GID, colored points. We select automatic geometry and a new window is displayed. We have to select the working directory, which is the directory containing the folders created on the pre-processing. We write the numbers of modules that we want to calculate. In this example, there are 3. Then, there is the option to delete the geometry at the end to save space. When we click in Execute, a progress bar is shown and no process is shown in the GID window. When the process is finished, a new folder called Models appears in the working directory. In this folder, 6 models are saved for each geometry, each with a different land use, such as river, infrastructure, unclassified, brushland, sparse vegetation, and forest. Within each model, we find the results extracted from each gauge, saved in CSV files. These CSV files contains the evolution of depth and specific discharge over time. The user can then use these files to extract the maximum depths and velocities at all points of interest. Now, I will talk about the second plugin for automatic report generation for the complete methodology in Iber. With this plugin, the user can introduce the coordinates of the vulnerable points. Then, Iber will automatically extract the main hydrodynamic variables such as flow depth, velocity, and specific discharge. Additionally, different calculation scenarios can be performed with the new option Calculate, which allows of considering or not the generation of the bridge or bridges. Here we can see the static case of El Rubial, a pond placed near to Villena village in Spain. In this case, 3 different scenarios were evaluated, being the red dots the location of the vulnerable ponds. This image shows the model domain and the topography of the study area. As we can see, this is a quite flat area with no defined stream. A fine mesh of around 600,000 elements was necessary to properly represent the hydrodynamics. Iber sequential code or CPU computation required 200 minutes for 12-hour simulation. With the 2 available GPU parallelization made in C++ CUDA and Fortran CUDA, the elapsed time was reduced to 3 minutes, reaching speedups of around time 60. Here we can see the modification made in the problem type to facilitate the user introduction of the coordinates of the vulnerable points. It is worth noticing that the user can specify a particular writing result time, which considerably reduces the writing time of the elements and the size of the result file. Once the computation finishes, the hydrodynamic results of each gauge or vulnerable point are saved in a plain format file. When a dam break flood analysis is required, the water Spanish authorities ask for a report with the classification of the dam or upstream reservoir. This report must include all the information of the vulnerable point, such as maps of maximums of the flood and the evolution of the hydrodynamic variables over time. Depending on the number of vulnerable points, the extraction and analysis of this information can be tedious. For such reason, we developed two tools to automatize this process by adapting the report tool of GID. First, a basic report that provides raw data of each vulnerable point, and an extended report that integrates all this information in a single document in HTML. This video shows an example of the basic report. First, we select the basic data of the report: graphs, screenshots of maps of maximums, locations, etc. The tool checks if the vulnerable point was flooded. If it was, it will be included on the report, otherwise it is neglected. Then, for every vulnerable point, a screenshot of the map of maximum is taken, and then generates the graphs of the hydraulic variables over time. All the results are saved in a folder inside the model. If the user requires it, an extended report in HTML format can be generated based on the previous information. The report includes a model description, the map of maximums, graphs, and other options. We are currently working on automatize the dam or upstream reservoir classification according to Spanish criteria and be able to propose a classification. Thank you for your attention. Feel free to contact us if you have